Hello wonderful human beings, Sheldon Evans here, and today you're ditching automatic mode and you're going to start shooting with manual settings in 3 minutes or less. Let's jump into it. If you're a photographer and you already know how to shoot with manual settings and think this video will be of no use to you, then think about this. You're always taking fantastic photos of your friends, and when you hand them the camera to take a photo of you, you get something like this. Or if you continually get asked by your friends who aren't photographers what ISO and shutter speed to use, then send them this video. Now if you don't know how to use manual, then you're in for a treat. There's only 3 things you need to understand when it comes to using manual settings on your camera, and that is shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. All 3 of which work together by changing the amount of light that is being let into your camera. First off is shutter speed. This refers to the period of time that your shutter stays open. Think of your shutter as the floodgates in a dam wall. The longer the gate stays open, the more water, or light in this case, that is going to come rushing in. So if you leave that gate open for 1/2000th of a second, only a fraction of light is going to be able to make it into your camera and onto your sensor. However, let's say you leave that gate open for 20 seconds. Your sensor is going to get drenched with light. In addition to this, the longer your shutter or floodgates stay open, the more motion blur you'll see in your image. If you want to freeze the action, you've got to use a fast shutter speed instead. Next is aperture. Think of aperture as the size of the floodgate in that dam wall. The larger the opening, the more light that'll flow into your camera. However, the way that we talk about aperture is kind of counterintuitive. The bigger the f number, the smaller the hole, and the smaller the f number, the bigger the hole. Now the aperture also determines the depth of field in your photo, or how blurred out your background will be. The lower the f number you see on your lens or your camera, the more blurred out the background will be. Using an aperture like 1.2, 1.4, or 1.8 will create buttery smooth goodness in the background. Finally, we have ISO. Both shutter speed and aperture give you some form of creative control over your image. But if you've already picked your shutter speed and aperture, it's time to look to ISO. ISO is your camera's sensitivity to light. The higher your ISO goes, the more sensitive to light it's going to be. However, you'll also start to lose some detail and introduce noise and grain into your shot. Think of it this way: do you want your sensor to absorb more light but sacrifice detail and contrast? Then use a higher ISO. Or do you want the light to be let in slowly, absorbing every color and every juicy detail? Then use a lower ISO. Ideally, you want it to be as low as possible to get the cleanest possible image to work with. That's it, the 3 aspects that make up the ever so popular exposure triangle. Exposure is all about compromise and compensation. If one setting changes, something else will have to change as well in order to compensate and bring your image back to perfect exposure. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did like the video, don't forget to hit that like button. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button because I upload videos all the time. And as always, I shall see you in the next video. Cheers.